Okay, we're live.
Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Brad Kennison. I'm the chair for the Mountainland MPO Technical Advisory Committee. We invite you to this electronic meeting via Zoom. Today, I believe this meeting is being recorded. The date is March 22nd and the time is 1:33 p.m. I believe we do have a full quorum, so we'll go ahead and start this meeting. I don't believe that we have any public comment that's been submitted. Is that correct, Chad and Melanie?
Yes, we've not received any.
Okay. So I don't know of any public comment. Does anyone know of any comment that need to come from the public besides what we may have received? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and get started on with item number 2 in this meeting. Item number 2 is an action item to approve the meeting minutes from January 25th, 2021. I believe those notes were sent out by Melanie last Thursday. So I'd open things up to a discussion or a motion if it's applicable.
Brad, this is Richard Nelson. I'll go ahead and make a motion. There is one correction. The minutes show January 26th as the date. I think the 25th was the Monday.
Okay.
So with that correction, I would make a motion that we approve the minutes from the January 25th meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to change the date on the written minutes to the January 25th. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it. Brad Stapley from Springville.
Okay, we have a second from Brad Stapley on that motion. We'll go ahead and take a, if there's any other discussion related to those minutes. If not, we'll go ahead and take a vote on that. All of those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. We'll go ahead and move on to action item number 3. This is a tip amendment on the Front Runner Commuter Rail Strategic Enhancements by Bob Allen with MAG.
Thank you. Hopefully everybody can see my presentation screen here. So we have a tip amendment for you here today, Commuter Rail Strategic Enhancements. So a little bit of background, Front Runner, UTA has been planning some strategic enhancements and strategic investments to improve reliability, speed, increase frequency, capacity, etc. In order to do that, UTA has identified 3 necessary components: double tracking in a few select locations, doing some station improvements, and then purchasing some additional vehicles. So with the 2021 legislative session, I'm sure everybody was watching that. There was some money to be spent. And so as a result of the legislative session, the legislature identified $100 million of one-time funding, some of the one-time funding that would be applied to this project going through the TTIF program. If you don't know what TTIF is, TIF stands for Transportation Investment Fund. TTIF just adds transit, so it's basically the same funds, but they've identified a piece that would be just for transit. So there's $100 million that would be set aside out of that one-time investment for this project. There's an additional 200 that the legislature identified that would be part of a transportation bond. Okay, so we need to add this project to the TIP. You can see here with the funding, we have $100 million of TTIF, and the year is going to be 2021. The $200 million we're putting in CD. If you don't know what that is, that's concept design, mostly because because there's the involvement with the bonding and the process that it needs to go through with the Transportation Commission, et cetera, we're not quite sure of the year that funding is available, but in order to continue forward, and you'll see why in a minute, we're putting that in CD because we just don't know specifics yet. Well, what are the benefits of this project? It would be to increase peak hour frequency up to as much as 15 minutes at key stations, could reduce travel time with some express trains, and even increase capacity with the number of vehicles that are available. So this project, it requires kind of I don't want to say jumping ahead of the game, but we're moving quickly with this because the state of Utah, UTA, are actively trying to obtain some additional federal funding for this project. They're looking for actually an additional $50 million at least to add to this project. But in order to do that, we need to be able to show that we have it in the TIP. We've got some money there. We're ready to go. And so that's why we're moving ahead to get this project in the TIP as quickly as possible, basically so we can be ahead of the game to try and qualify for those federal funds. So again, this is a new project we're adding to the TIP, separate from the project that we did last time with the Vineyard Station. But if there are any questions, I'm happy to address them the best I can, but otherwise there is a proposed motion. Wow, I did such a good job. Nobody has any questions. I'm impressed.
Bob, this is Brad Kinnison. I have a question. Is there any indication as to where they feel like that the double tracking sections will be planned for at this point in time? It's not double tracking along that entire corridor, is it?
No, that would be significantly more expensive. No, UTA's actually been going through a pretty rigorous planning process. This is kind of I think there's always been the thought of double tracking the entire system. This is kind of a step towards that, and they've been doing a strategic plan for, I think they finished it a year ago or so, identifying what pieces need to be double tracked, what those station changes need to be in order to allow the best efficiency and speed without having to do the entire system. And so I don't have the map right in front of me. UTA has definitely a plan for that. And as the additional funds come along and additional details will be showing that. I believe Chad mentioned there's not a lot of double tracking in Utah County. There definitely is some and some station changes. There's also obviously some new vehicles that need to be purchased with that, but yeah. And just so it's understood, this 300 million is basically system wide. So this is from Ogden to Provo. We're just showing it kind of as one complete project, the entire length of the existing system. WFRC, our sister agency at the north of us, their TIP is going to show the exact same amount and the exact same thing. And by doing so, we give ourselves some flexibility to make sure that we get something in there, we make ourselves eligible without pinning ourselves down too much and have to make a bunch of changes later on.
Bob, we are going to do double tracking from American Fork to Vineyard. Did you say that already?
I didn't, because I wasn't exactly sure where those pieces are. I know we have the Vineyard double tracking down by the station that we did last week or last month. And I'm sure there are a few more spots throughout the system, but that's all I know.
That was just part of the Vineyard Station, right?
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know that this money pays for it, or we had separate funding.
I think it's separate, but
It's separate too. There is a lot of double tracking already between Provo and Orem. And so this just adds to it. And there'll be a lot of small pieces that they've picked highlighted pieces in the future, a front runner study. And there'll be a lot of them more in Salt Lake. And so we'll be using that study to prioritize, I believe.
Yep. And just so everybody aware, this is again one of those projects where this is not MAG money that we're spending or playing with. This is state dollars. So we don't necessarily pick and choose how this money is spent doesn't reduce the amount of money that we'll have in our next tip selection process, just so everybody's aware. Any other questions? Good questions.
Quick question. This is Mike Fleehide. I was just wondering, mentioned up to 15-minute frequency. Has it been mentioned which stations that's hoped to improve for?
I'm sure in that study they have a little bit more information. Maybe Chad could share that, some of the results of that. Laura's here. Maybe she
Yeah,
can
I was
answer.
going to say, if it's okay, I can chime in just a little bit.
Please.
Yeah, we're doing this study. We finished a future of Frontrunner study a couple of years ago, and we're kind of moving towards the next steps of that. And we're doing some additional operational analysis. One of the big challenges right now is that we have sort of competing objectives from our stakeholders. Some people are asking for more frequency and others are asking for faster travel time. And the challenge there is the sections that we need to double track for faster travel time are not always the same as the 15-minute frequency double track sections. And so we're trying to figure out, are there sections that are common between both scenarios that we can invest our resources in now while we continue to do some additional outreach with our writers and various stakeholders to better understand kind of what that future vision should look like. When we say up to 15 minutes of increased frequency from double tracking, that would be two directional, right? So if you commute to work and it takes you a period of time and you save maybe 8 minutes, and then you save another 7 minutes on the way back, those added together become the 15. So it's not necessarily 15 minutes faster in one direction. Again, all of that depends on how many sections we're able to double track. The areas that we're finding where we do have that commonality and alignment between faster travel times and increased frequency are between about Farmington and our North Temple station right now. That's kind of the area that is the one that we know we absolutely need no matter what the other scenarios are. That said, when we look at ridership, and we're seeing a stronger travel market between Provo and Salt Lake than we are between Ogden and Salt Lake. And so I have a feeling that as we continue to advance this, you'll see more and more investments in the Utah County area. I hope that helps.
Nope, that's why you ask the smart people. Thanks, Laura.
That's okay. Not smart, just one who has exposure to a little bit more detail.
Well, and I think Laura I kind of pointed out why we don't have a lot of details on specific locations yet. Where we want to be is strategic in how we do this, but we also want to make sure we want to get it in the tip so we can hopefully acquire some additional funds to help do even more. So that's why we're here today, adding this project. Good questions, good comments. Anything else? Like I said, there's a proposed motion, but we're happy to answer any questions you guys have.
If we don't have any other questions, I would be willing to accept the motion at this time.
Brad, this is Steve Mumford here. I'll move that we recommend the Frontrunner Commuter Rail Strategic Enhancements Project be added to the tip as presented.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
I didn't see who the second was from.
Aaron Wilson.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Okay, we have a motion from Steve and then a second from Aaron Wilson to move this forward and add it to the tip. Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Thank you.
Thanks,
Looks like
everyone.
that motion. What's that again?
I just said thanks, everyone.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Bob, for that time. Let's go ahead and move forward to item number 4 then. We've heard already from Laura, so would you go ahead and tell us about the UTA 5-year service plan, Laura?
You bet. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen here. So we meant to present this to you all a little while ago, but we had some miscommunication on dates. And so our board has actually adopted our 5-year plan already, but it's always a working document and there is always opportunity to update this moving forward. So I wanted to just walk you through what we're doing here at UTA, introduce the 5-year plan and also an additional planning exercise that we are embarking upon. First off, our region is growing. You guys know this. Utah County in particular is growing faster than other parts of the state, and particularly the south part of the county and the Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs area. You guys are bursting at the seams. We know it. And that comes with a lot of pressures, right? But it also comes with a lot of opportunities. And UTA really would like you all to know that we want to be your partner in navigating this change. And we think public transit can help really mitigate some of the challenges and capitalize on some of the opportunities that come along with this. We have reorganized a little bit at UTA, and we have a new Office of Planning and Engagement. And so our planning team is together now with a community engagement team and also customer experience. So we're sort of the outward facing portion of UTA. And you know, with this new organization, we're really working hard to strengthen our relationships with our local governments. Make sure that you know that we're here to be your partner. You can call on us, use us as an extension of your staff, or if you need a transit expert, we're here to answer any questions you have. If you happen to be updating your general plan, or you're reconstructing a street, or have a new development that's coming in, that, you know, anything that potentially touches public transit, please call us. We'd love to work with you on that. There's a lot of opportunities for us to improve bus stops as street reconstruction projects are happening. When we better understand what's in your general plans, we can include that and roll that into our long-term planning. You know, we just want to work with you. So, and similarly, when we're doing things, we promise to reach out to you all whenever we're making service changes that affect your community, starting a new study, we have bus stop changes. And, you know, we just hope to do some ongoing check-ins with you all. And I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail here. So I mentioned that we were here to talk about primarily our 5-year service plan. And this is just one piece of UTA's planning process. It really starts with the development of the regional transportation plan with MAG and Wasatch Front Regional Council. That's that 30-year lookout. It's updated every 4 years. The RTPs cover regionally significant transit projects and roadway projects and up, but it doesn't get down to the local service. And so we're proposing to develop a complementary document called the UTA Long Range Transit Plan to accompany that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that moving on. But the 5-year service plan is the first piece. This is a document that's looking out 5 years into the future. It is designed to work within the existing resources that UTA has. So we're not anticipating any additional funding here. We're going to update it every single 2 years. And it's really, it's something in between a vision and an actual concrete plan, right? This is a snapshot of where we think we're headed, given the information and the resources that we have available to us today. As we get into actually developing our annual service plan, this is, you know, really where we're programming the work. We'll be reaching out to each of you as local governments to say, hey, you know what, this bus route comes through your community. Here's what we're thinking to do with it. Does this meet your needs? Do you have any concerns? We'll reach out to our riders, do public hearings and outreach, and really make sure that the plans that we're putting together are the right things. So everything that I present here in this 5-year service plan, think of it as kind of a benchmark or a goalpost of where we think we're headed. We're not exactly sure exactly how we're going to get there, but they're high-level goals on where we think we're headed, and we'll work with you much more closely as we get into the details. So the plan is organized around a series of guiding principles. For the first time, really, UTA has thought about planning as a system-wide approach rather than business unit by business unit or mode by mode. So we're really focusing in this plan on county to county connections and then also mode to mode connections. So making sure that it's a really seamless experience for everyone, no matter where they are in the system. We're investing in a network of core routes. These are our very highest frequency, very best bus routes. They run early in the morning, late in the evening, 7 days a week, high frequency. We only have a few of these in our plan right now, and those are the green lines on the map. But we hope to see more of them as our resources allow us to expand. Throughout the pandemic, we have seen some interesting changes in travel patterns. Obviously, we're meeting here by Zoom today rather than in a conference room. And I think a lot of those types of trends probably will continue to stick even as we recover from the pandemic over time. And so we've seen fewer people commuting longer distances, but at the same time, we saw a really steady continual demand for all-day service throughout the whole pandemic. These are essential workers. I can work from home, but the grocery store clerk needs to be there in order to get my groceries. And we all need to, do our part to keep society going. And so this all-day service investment in this plan really is doubling down and making sure that our transit is convenient for everybody, no matter what your travel patterns look like. Similarly, we're expanding our hours on lots of different routes to run earlier in the morning and later in the evening. There's a nice double win there because it actually ends up breaking into better working shifts for our operators. So it's more convenient for our customers and us. We think there's a role for some new technologies in the future of public transit, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. And we have some projects that we've been talking about as a region, the Central Corridor BRT, for example, the Point of the Mountain study. We're doing some work in Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs right now to explore future transit, and then also in the south part of the county. And so this plan is starting to lay the foundation for some of those projects. The plan is all available online with the URL that you can see at the bottom of the screen there. It's an interactive website, so you can click on things and open things up and explore it at your leisure. The nuts and bolts of what we're doing in Utah County is summarized on this page here. We plan to open the Vineyard Front Runner station and then adjust our local bus service to serve that new station. Just having this train station there on its own is great, but it works a whole lot better when it connects to the rest of the system. I mentioned that we're improving all-day service and overall hours on all kinds of routes. So anything that's identified in blue on the map is an all-day service. And those new technologies, we're considering innovative mobility solutions in the areas that are indicated with these gray circles on the map. So the western part of Provo and up in the Thanksgiving Point area. We have a pilot that's happening right now in the south part of Salt Lake County, right, with this technology. And basically, it's like an Uber or a Lyft. You call up one of these vans on your smartphone. It will come and pick you up anywhere within that zone. And it will take you anywhere you want to go within that zone. So connect you to a train station or just to the grocery store and back. The fare is $2.50, just like our regular bus fare, and you can also transfer onto any other services without having to pay again. And we think this is a really innovative idea, one that seems to be really working well in the pilot area. It's much higher quality service than you could get in a place with a fixed route that is just kind of hard to really capture a lot of riders, and so it works really well for us. A couple other things I wanted to point out on the map here. You can see these little gray pins or flags. There's one in the south part of the valley and one in Eagle Mountain and Saratoga. Those indicate places where we have some additional study that we need to do. We know that there are unmet transportation needs there, and we are currently engaging in some planning efforts with our partners, MAG and UDOT, to make sure that we're meeting the needs of those areas. So explore the 5-year plan. The next thing I wanted to introduce you to is this idea of this UTA long-range transit plan, this complementary piece to the MPO RTP. As I mentioned, the RTP really covers regionally significant projects and up, so BRTs, light rail, commuter rail. But as UTA, we have a lot of other modes that we need to plan for. Microtransit, paratransit, bus stops, our van pool. We have transfer facilities and hubs, necessary garages and maintenance facilities. And we don't really have a plan that identifies what our vision is as an agency for all of these various different things and how they work together. And so we are hoping to put this together over the next couple of years. And right now, I think all of the ideas that are in the RTP would just roll right into this. And then as we refine our local plans, it will give us a way to be a little bit more helpful to the MPOs as the RTPs are developed and making sure that it syncs up with connectivity with our other systems. There's a lot of money that's out there. We don't have money to do everything that we want to do right now. That's evident in the RTP, but there is money out there, but you're never going to be able to secure that funding unless you have a plan to say, this is what we want to do with it. And so we think by having this plan together, we'll be able to attract some additional funding and resources to achieve our vision as a region. And there are some new tools available to us, like the transportation reinvestment zones and now housing and transportation reinvestment zones. So we need your help. We want to reach out to you all and better understand what your vision is for your community and how we can best meet the demands of growth, attract these additional resources, and be a good advocate for mobility for our region. So we will be reaching out to you all sometime through the next year to sit down with your communities one-on-one and say, what's your vision? Do you look something more like the images on the left or something a little bit more like the images on the right? How do you envision your community growing? Where is economic development happening? And how does public transit fit into that vision? And what ways can we partner with you all to make that happen? So we'll be reaching out to you over the next year in two places. One, these one-on-one meetings to better understand your vision, but also as we're implementing the 5-year service plan with those specific changes. So we'll be reaching out to you and then we'll implement that during Change Day. And I'm gonna leave you with some contact information if anyone wants to take a quick screenshot so you know how to reach us. Obviously, Mary Delamar Schaefer is always a great advocate and contact for folks in Utah County, but you're also welcome to call our executive director, trustee Jeff Acerson, whom I know many of you know, or me or my boss. So anyways, thank you so much. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Laura. Does anyone else have any other questions for Laura before we move on to the next item? That's a lot of good information, Laura, and we understand the time and effort you put forward. We're excited to hear more from you on those plans.
No problem. Happy to come back to you anytime with updates, and we'll look forward to meeting with you all individually.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Unless someone else has another question for Laura, I think we'll move on to item number 5 with Patty Garber from UTA on the Point of the Mountain Transit Study update. Patty, are you on today? Well, there you are. I think, Patty, we're not able to hear you. Patty, are you still muted?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was going
There
off.
we go. I can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you for having me here today. So I am here today to tell you about the preferred alternative that has been selected for the Point of the Mountain study. So I'm going to tell you briefly about the steps that we went through, how we came to our decision, and the selection that we've made. So by the end, you will all understand why we have selected the preferred alternative that we have. And some of you have probably seen this presentation already because I'm going around to all of our stakeholders to So the purpose of the project was to create a high capacity connection between southern Salt Lake County and northern Utah County to the existing and emerging development areas. So this shows you our schedule. We started the project in August of 2019. We made our selection in December, and we are proceeding with the environmental analysis. So we started with 5 alternatives, and in our level 1 evaluation, we quickly, well, not quickly, but we learned that economic development was a critical driver for the project, and also that urgency is key to the project implementation. So because of that, we focused on a segment that was common to all of the 5 initial alternatives. It is a catalyst for economic development, and it's more likely to receive funding, and it will be quicker and more feasible to implement. So out of our level 1 evaluation, we looked at, for level 2, we looked at a bus rapid transit option and also 2 rail options. So this shows you our bus rapid transit option. It starts on the north at Draper Front Runner, crosses to the southeast across the prison site, and then into our UTA right away down to Lehigh Traverse Mountain Station, with 2 potential extensions to the Triumph Boulevard or Hospital Station, and then also west across I-15 to the Lehigh Front Runner Station. So this BRT would be what is known as gold standard. So it would be almost entirely exclusive lane, and it would be, the stations would have amenities such as off-board fair pay, level boarding. It would also have transit signal priority. It would just be very nice bus rapid transit, similar to what you would call rail on rubber tires. So that was our bus option. This shows you the rail option. It's very similar alignment on the north at Draper Front Runner down to Lehigh. We had 2 technologies that we looked at, diesel multiple unit and light rail. Again, this is almost entirely exclusive lane. This would have 6 stations, which is actually 1 less, because the BRT would allow us to have 2 stations at the point site, and that has to do with getting up and over I-15. This would also require its own maintenance facility within the area of the project. So what were the similarities between BRT and light rail? They both would have good land use and economic development for the area, and the ridership was very similar for both options. And that had to do with the fact that with BRT connecting to the central corridor, that would have benefits to ridership, whereas with rail, you would have to have a transfer, and that would be negative for the rail option. And they would both benefit from the expected employment and population growth expected in the area. So the differences, the BRT comes in around 300 to 450 million. The rail was estimated to be between 450 million up to 850 million. As far as construction and operation, BRT is easier to construct and operate, and it would be quicker to implement the BRT. So this shows you the preferred alternative that was selected out of the transit study. It's what we call the common ground segment. It's approximately 8 miles long. It would include 7 stations with the 2 stations at the point, with the option for extending down to the hospital station on Triumph Boulevard and over to the Lehigh Front Runner. And I also put in here a note about analyzing potential further extensions to the south, because I know that there's concerns with what is happening with Central Corridor and what might be happening down there. So I just wanted to mention that we, in some aspects, we can look at additional extensions to the south. So I also have in here some information about other BRT projects that are in operation now. This is the Cleveland Health Line BRT, which opened in 2008. The buses were designed to look like a train. It has very nice stations, and it was able to leverage $5.8 billion in TOD within 4 years of opening. This is the Houston Silver Line BRT, which opened actually just last August. It has almost entirely exclusive lane. The landscaping separates those lanes from the main roadway. And the buses, again, on the inside were designed to look like a train vehicle. And the doors are wider, unlike most buses. And this was actually part of a bigger effort for the Post Oak Boulevard in Houston. This is the Albuquerque Rapid Transit in New Mexico. It has these unique branded buses. They have the articulated buses for larger capacity. And it was part of revitalization of Route 66. And also, as you can see, the stations have a unique design and amenities. This is the Pittsburgh East Liberty Station, which was designed to integrate into the surrounding community. And this was actually a private initiative. So the private entities were really the ones backing it, but also to support the effort of the local municipalities. This is the Richmond Pulse in Virginia. These stations, similar to the others, have nice amenities. It includes station area development, TOD, and it was also local revitalization. So the next steps of the project, as I said, I've been going around to our various stakeholders to give the update on the preferred alternative. So I've gone to city council meetings. I'm actually going to be presenting to the Lehigh City Council working meeting tomorrow. I've been to Wasatch Front, and I'm here today. And I did give an update to our board of trustees. It was just an informational item after the LPA was selected, but ultimately I'll be taking it to the advisory council, the UTA advisory council, for their approval. And then the board of trustees will officially adopt the LPA. And as I said, we've started the environmental process. As for funding for the environmental study, the legislature appropriated $750,000 last year through TTIF. Our local budget, UTA budget, has funding for the next years going forward. This year we have $500,000 in our 5-year budget. We also have an application, an STBG fund application into Wasatch Front for $3 million. And recently, as you all know, the legislature appropriated another $5 million for the project. So if there are any questions, and also I'm just looking for a vote of confidence, a vote of support for this preferred alternative.
Oh, Patty,
Patty,
this is Brad Kennison.
Oh, go ahead, Brad.
Oh, sorry, Sean. I did have one question for you, Patty. When you mentioned that the BRT scenario that you proposed, you called that as a gold standard. how does that relate in this to the UVX? Is UVX considered gold standard? It just seems
Well-
like this proposed option has quite a few less stops, meaning the buses could travel further distances quicker. I don't know. Maybe you can just weigh in on that.
So UVX has about 50% exclusive guideway, whereas Gold Standard would have around 90%. So it would have
Mhm.
much more exclusive guideway where it wouldn't be driving in mixed flow traffic. So it wouldn't be slowed down by the
Okay.
traffic.
All right.
Outside of the lane, Brad, there's every other amenity UVX has.
Right. Yeah, I mean, just
Yeah.
looking at the corridor, it just seems very much more dedicated to just the UVX traffic than what UVX. I'm sorry, dedicated to the BRT traffic than what UVX is.
Yeah, that's correct.
An incredible way of being able to get people around.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad, could I ask a question of Patty or just clarify something? I appreciate Patty mentioning the exploring the southern terminus a little bit further. We've had a couple conversations with Lehigh, and Patty, you and I talked late last week about looking at some of the area down around 2100 North and seeing if it made sense to analyze any of that area in terms of a southern terminus. So thanks for bringing that up today, and fully support the locally preferred alternative from the regional perspective, and interested to see what Lehigh thinks about it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just echo what Sean said. We really appreciate you bringing that up, Patty. And we do have, that's kind of a hot spot for, not that there's, I don't know, there's a lot of hot spots in Lehigh for development, right? But that area right around 2100 North, and then just a little bit to the west of that with the hospital, that area we see as continuing to see a lot of the focus of, and we're planning in our land use plans for transit-oriented development, both at 2100 North and the hospital. So I do think we'd highly encourage that you consider that southern terminus, if we can look at it down to 2100 North. So, but anyways, yeah, we support the locally preferred alternative. You guys have been great to work with throughout the whole study process. So anyways, I think that's just our one minor addition that we would want to see whether, at whatever point we're ready for a motion, I would definitely offer the support, and with that one little caveat. So that sounds a bit
Thank
like
you.
a motion, Kim. Yeah, I'll take a stab at it. So yeah, I would make a motion that we give the vote of support from the Technical Advisory Committee on the Point of the Mountain transit study, that we support that with the addition that UTA and the consultant parametrics, that they consider a southern terminus to 2100 North. So at least consider that. Yeah. Okay, Kim, thank you for that motion. Do we have a second? And then we probably ought to have some discussion, but have a second on that motion?
Brad, this is Chris Trusty. I'll make a second.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Is there any other questions or any discussion that anyone would like to have related to that motion? And that, just really, we're just trying to give them a vote of support for all the work that they've done.
Well, and I didn't mention that I will be going to your regional committee. Is that what you would call it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's our regional planning committee. I believe our meeting is April 1st, if I'm not fooling you. So that's
yeah, I
coming.
was going to say that.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like with if no one else has any other Any other questions related to that motion? We have a motion by Kim Struthers and the second on that motion. So we'll go ahead and take a vote. All in favor of that motion proposed by Kim, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Say nay. Okay, we'll go ahead and move forward with that. Thank you for your explanation, Patty. That's very helpful.
Well,
for all
thank
that work.
you.
I have a quick question, Patty. Do you need the 3 million from WFRC in order to have enough funding for the environmental?
Yes, we do.
So it's about 9.5 million for the environmental.
Yeah, it has to do with the amount of design and engineering
Right.
that we're doing. Yeah.
What percentage design will you do with that?
We're looking at about 20%.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Good
Yes,
question.
thank you again, Patty. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to item number 6, the UDOT TIF, the TTIF, and the TTIF active process update from Bob Allen.
Thank you. Eric Rasband was originally going to do this, but he was unavailable. So he called in his ace reliever, but he couldn't do it either. So you're stuck with me.
Bob, I'm available. I can take over now if that's necessary.
You might need to jump in, Sean. No, basically, there's one real important thing that we want to talk about. The first slide here is basically just, I think most people understand that UDOT has their TIF and TTIF prioritization processes. This is basically how the Transportation Commission, the state funds that they use to, well, a majority of their state funds they use to fund projects. TIF, Transportation Investment Fund, that's basically road projects. There is no match on road projects. Local governments can nominate projects, but the requirements are that the project needs to be in phase 1 of the RTP. So basically, right now, we're trying to put together a list of projects that they will consider for 2022. And we'll get into the timing of it a little bit more in a second. But this is just a little bit of background. TIF active, that's basically this money is set aside in the same account that is for active transportation. These projects have a 40% non-state match. So you would either need to bring federal money or local money to a project in order to have one of these projects funded. Again, local governments can nominate projects, and they do need to be in phase 1 of the RTP. And also, technically, these need to reduce congestion on a state route. To quote Eric, he said, even if that reduces 1 car, we're okay. So just so you're aware. TTIF is basically the same thing, but it's for transit projects. There is the 40% match. Local governments and transit districts can nominate projects. Again, phase 1 of the RTP. TTIF, first mile, last active, is basically first mile, last mile projects, the same stuff across the board. Most of this should be pretty familiar to everybody. But when we talk, let me talk a little bit about nominations. So basically, for TIF, for the road projects, every project that is in the RTP in phase 1, goes through the process. It doesn't even need to be nominated. So if you have a project you're interested in, it's a numbered project in the RTP, rest assured it is going through the process. If there are projects that you don't see that way that you would like to nominate for UDOT's consideration, then either a local government, a city, a county, etc., can nominate one of those projects. UDOT and MAG cannot nominate projects, so it's got to be a local community, a local government or transit district for those others. So why are we talking about this now? So the STIP workshop, if you follow UDOT and the Transportation Commission, they are currently working on the 2021 STIP. So basically, they're going through the list, they're going through their process. They've looked at all of the projects that have gone through their process and been ranked and created a list. they're going through that, and over the next couple of months, as they weed through what the legislative session did to them and the funds that they have available through TIF, they'll be making decisions on those projects. Now, getting yourself on that list for 2021, the time has passed. And 2022, the time is now if you have a project that you would like to get on those lists to be considered for next year. You can see here with kind of a chart of how it goes. So where they're gathering nominations for these different categories now, the deadline for that is the end of business on March 31st. So basically a little over a week from now. If you are interested in nominating a project, please contact a MAG staff member or UDOT Region 3 staff, and we will get you through that nomination process. We can't nominate it for you, but we'll definitely hold your hand and help you through the process. But the big thing to understand is March 31st is the cutoff date for next year. So that's coming up really quick. I can't emphasize it enough. It seems like 2022 is so far away, but it takes a lot of time for them to go through their process. I think now that they have this new process, they're trying to get work done earlier in the year so that they have more time to go through the work that they have to do to run it through their models and processes. So this is a little bit moved up in time. We need to make sure that if there's any interest in having a project nominated, to please do so. You can see, again, it's not just road projects. There's active transportation projects, both first mile, last mile, and then just trail projects or active transportation projects, and transit opportunity. So please, again, like I said, if you're interested in trying to get on the list to be looked at by the Transportation Commission to be funded through one of these programs, time is of the essence. Please contact, I would say Eric Rasman, but I think Eric is going to be out of town for a little while. So please contact either myself or a member of MAG staff or Region 3 staff, and we will get you going. I think a lot of the projects that we felt like or thought might be good candidates, we've reached out to some, but we definitely don't think we've maybe reached out to all of them. So if you have a project that you think can fall under these, please let us know. Again, that 40% match is a big dollar figure depending on what kind of project you're looking at. So keep that in mind if you're interested in nominating a project, but please don't hesitate. If you have questions, you have specifics on a project, touch base with us, touch base with Region 3, and we'll help you get through that process, but the time is now to do so. Any questions that I can answer? This is just an FYI kind of thing. Are there any questions about this that I can try to answer as well as I can? All right.
Hey, Bob, one question I have. When you say
sure
2022, is that January 22?
Let me. So it's I don't know. It doesn't necessarily mean you'll be funded or money will be available in 2022. It means that in 2022 they will select projects. UDOT is like us. They are picking projects generally 3-4 years out. And so I can't tell you when, if you were awarded funds, when those funds would be available, when the project would be available. Just like us, sometimes they have money that pops up availability earlier in the planning horizon. But my understanding is the majority of these funds that they would be looking at would be in outer years like 24, 25, 26. But this is basically getting you lined up for their selection process that will be happening exactly a year from now. It's pretty much what they're doing right now. They're calling the 2021 STIP workshop. They're doing that right now. But even those monies that they're looking at, the majority of them are in outer years. So I think I answered your question, but if I didn't, let me know.
Nope, you did. Thanks, Bob.
Perfect. Any other questions? Good question.
Any other questions for Bob then?
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks, Bob. Okay, item number 7, and any other business that we may have. UTA, do you have any other business, Mary?
No,
No?
thank you. Just, I do want the cities that are involved in the Central Corridor that we're working behind the scenes between MAG and UDOT and UTA to try to figure out what the work program looks like going forward with the funding that we have. So more to come soon.
Okay, thank you. Any items of business from UDOT? Seeing any, what about any other items of business from any of the other constituents on the line, you know, from any of the cities or?
Well, I'll just say hi to everybody. Ken Young here with Saratoga Springs. First day on the job, coming back to Utah, spent 3.5 years in South Dakota, but I'm glad to be back and happy to be with you. I recognize some of you. Hopefully some of you recognize me. I'm not too much up there. So.
That's great, Ken. What are you doing in Saratoga? What's your role?
The Community Development Director.
Great to see you.
You too.
Hey, great to have you on, Ken.
Thanks.
Okay, any other items of, if not, without having any other items of business, our next TAC meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 26th, 2021 at the same time, 11:30 p.m. And I'm imagining that will probably also be a Zoom meeting, but I'm sure Melanie will let us know for sure. Anyways, I guess to go forward then, I'm willing to accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Steve Mumford.
Thank you, Steve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Kim Struthers has a second. Okay, we'll go ahead and adjourn then. Thank you, everyone. Everyone, stay safe out there.